4 spine-chilling tales revealing sinister family secrets that haunt and curse for generations. Lucy stared at the old house, the fraying paint peeling like the memories of her childhood. The gentle morning light barely penetrated the heavy gloom, casting an eerie pallor over the decaying porch steps. Inside, the air was thick with silence, broken only by the creaks of the floorboards beneath her feet as she stepped cautiously. Was it just her imagination? Or did the house seem to hold its breath waiting? She shivered as a cold draft brushed against her, sending a ripple of panic coursing through her. The unsettling feeling of returning home felt layered with an ominous weight she couldn't shake. "Let's just get through today," she whispered to herself, but the walls seemed to echo back her doubts. Lucy's heart raced. She had come back to Anderson Heights, not just to honor her grandmother's memory, but to find refuge for herself and her children, Emily and Max. This was supposed to be a fresh start, a chance to escape the failings of her past. But here in the shadows of the dilapidated neighborhood, haunted by whispers of vengeful spirits and buried family secrets, the burdens of history pressed heavily on her. Dark memories lingered within the space like unsolved riddles. One afternoon, as dusk crept in, she ventured into the attic, her grandmother's hidden treasure trove. Dust particles danced in the slivers of fading light, revealing a box tucked away in the corner. Inside were yellowed letters, each revealing generational transgressions, dark secrets of betrayal intertwined with fragile hopes. Lucy's breath hitched as she realized the family legend warned of punishment, of a spirit that sought vengeance against anyone who betrayed their kin. Each word felt like a cold hand gripping her throat. As night enshrouded the house, unsettling phenomena began brewing. A creak here, a soft whisper there. Lucy attributed it to exhaustion and stress. She finally settled down on the worn couch, trying to drown out the eerie stillness. But then, laughter echoed from the hallway, light and innocent as though 2 children were playing a late-night game. Lucy's stomach twisted. She dashed down the hall, her heart pounding like thunder. "Emily, Max, what are you doing?" They turned towards her, eyes bright with mischief. "We have a new friend," they chimed, grinning wide. Lucy felt a chill run down her spine. "What do you mean, a friend?" Before they could answer, panic surged through her. Something dark trickled into her mind. "Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue." Days passed and the laughter morphed into late-night whispers, names echoing just below her door. The shadows deepened and the stale air felt electric. It was suffocating. Lucy turned to her neighbors for help. They seemed oblivious, their easy smiles masking the tension in their eyes. Among them stood Jim, the supposed pillar of the community, whose charm felt like a facade, too perfect, too composed. Lucy felt a knot of distrust tighten in her chest. One night she pushed open the attic door, compelled by an unknown force. The dust danced in the air like phantom memories. Her phone buzzed, pulling her out of her spiraling thoughts. The message from Jim chilled her, speaking of unrest within the community, a rift that sent anxiety spiraling into her mind. As Emily and Max curled against the attic wall, their whispers grew sinister, weaving dark trails of secrets linked to their spectral friend. They spoke of a ghost echoing every family betrayal, the same specter penned in the emotional letters she uncovered. Fear gripped her. What if they truly summoned it? The house felt alive, waiting to consume. Lucy stood frozen, teetering on the brink of a revelation. Would unraveling these long-buried secrets save them, or would they seal their doom instead? The whispers escalated into a chant, an unsettling rhythm that pulsed through the attic. Lucy's breath hitched as she stepped backward, a frantic glance shooting between her children, whose eyes now gleamed with an eerie light. Their faces twisted, a shadow of innocence stolen right before her. "What friend?" Lucy managed. dread pooling in her stomach. Max blinked slowly, tilting his head. The one who knows everything. His voice held a sing-song quality that made Lucy's skin crawl. Emily nodded vigorously, her small fingers curling around a tattered doll as if it were a talisman. "Can't you hear him?" Her grin split her face wide, but there was something off about it, a knowing smirk that left Lucy icy cold. "Stop playing games!" Lucy snapped, desperate to pull them back from whatever dark fantasy they were weaving. She reached down to take their hands, feeling the chill of their skin as if they were made of ice. "We're leaving this attic now." But they didn't move. Instead, their laughter twisted into something resembling a cackle, reverberating against the wooden beams. The air thickened, heavy with a stench of damp wood and something sweeter, rotting. Lucy's heart raced. What had they awakened? As she pulled them, Emily suddenly cried out, dropping the doll, which landed with a hollow thud. "No, we can't go." "Emily, we need to go," Lucy insisted, her voice cracking. Panic spiraled. Shadows flicked along the attic walls, flickering lights of an unseen presence. "There's nothing to be afraid of," Max reassured, the eeriness of his tone sending a shiver down her spine. "He just wants to play." "Play? With what?" Lucy shouted, yanking her children closer. The shadows flickered, growing heavier, almost tangible, as if seeking her out, and then a chilling voice echoed off the walls, deep and resonant, coiling tightly around her throat like a vice. "You should have never come back." Lucy froze. The voice was laced with hate and regret. It wasn't just a whisper. It was a warning. Sweat trickled down her back as she staggered, trying to decipher the source. The shadows contorted, twisting into shapes that mocked the memories of her childhood. "Who are you?" she shouted, forcing strength into her quivering voice. The darkness swayed around her, forming into a human silhouette. A tall, gaunt figure that loomed from the attic's depths, eyes glowing like embers. "You thought you could escape your family's sins," it hissed, tilting its head mockingly. "But they've come home with you." Lucy's throat constricted as the reality of what lay before her dawned. This was no benign specter, no guardian of past memories. This was a keeper of wrath, an avenger lurking in her bloodline. As the house trembled, she felt the swell of energy, a force that sent her heart racing. No, this isn't real," she stammered, stumbling backward, searching for a way out. The children remained transfixed, oblivious to their mother's dread. "Secrets breed in silence," the figure snarled, its voice echoing through the aged planks of the attic. "You should have buried them deeper, Lucy." In that instance, the attic was no longer just a relic of her past. It was a battlefield, a layer of grief and betrayal threatening to consume her whole. "Enough," Lucy shouted, grasping desperately for the letters hidden in the shadows. "I won't play your game." But as she reached for them, darkness engulfed the attic. The weight of family secrets pressed against her chest like an iron chain, choking off her breath. Had she summoned the very spirit that cursed her bloodline? Just then, a deafening crash resonated through the house, shaking the walls. Max and Emily froze, their faces pale. The promise of their newfound friend flickered, and Lucy's heart raced with a new kind of dread. The floor beneath her feet trembled, threatening to give way to the darkness below. She needed to act, and fast. Was it too late for them, or could she possibly break the cycle? "Mommy!" Emily screamed, gripping Lucy's hand tighter. As the shadows surged forward, Lucy knew she had to confront not just the vengeful spirit, but the deepest fears lurking within her own heart. What horrors awaited when she finally faced the truth? And as the haunting echoes swelled around her, she couldn't help but wonder, would their family history succeed in trapping them all? Or was there a way to rewrite their fate? The shadows loomed larger, breathless whispers blending into a chaotic symphony. Lucy's heart raced, each thud echoing in her ears, drowning out the laughter of her children. She pulled them closer, fighting the urge to scream. The gaunt figure hovered, its ember-like eyes boring into her soul. "Why don't you want to play?" it crooned, voice slithering through the air like smoke. "Because I don't want to be trapped," Lucy yelled, her voice punctuating the thick silence. We need to go now. The space around them constricted, the attic becoming a twisted funhouse of dread. The walls pulsated with energy, alive and aware, mocking her escape attempts. Emily's grip on her hand tightened, nails digging into Lucy's skin, while Max's expression devolved into rapture. Truly, he was lost. "No, Mommy, we have to stay," Max sang, his eyes shimmering with an uncanny glow. Lucy's throat tightened. Her heart raced in a wild rhythm. She turned to face the figure, forcing herself to steady her breath. "What do you want?" she demanded. The specter stepped closer, shadows swirling around it like a shroud. "Your family has always welcomed me, Lucy. I am but a friend to guide them, a link to the past, a guardian of truths. They've called, just as yours did before." "No, you're not a friend," she spat back, stepping sideways to place herself between her children and the dark presence, her resolve flaring bright even against the overwhelming dread. "You're a nightmare." "Ah, but you've fed the nightmare over the years, haven't you?" It hissed, looming closer, the distant sound of splintering wood echoing around them. "You buried it. But secrets do not remain hidden." Suddenly, the floorboard beneath Lucy creaked ominously. With a sickening crack, a split formed, splintering to reveal an abyss, a dark pit that beckoned with an insatiable hunger. The whispers surged, a chorus of lost souls reaching up, tugging at her, urging her to join. "Max, Emily, we have to move." Lucy's voice broke, fear clawing at her insides. She hurried back to her children, pulling them roughly. But their faces were turned to the darkness, spellbound. "I want to see," Max murmured, his voice distant. A child's innocent curiosity twisted into something terrifying. "Close your eyes," Lucy shouted, panic rising like bile in her throat. She felt as if the very timbers of the house were pressing against her, urging her to succumb to this unseen force. It felt hopeless, as if she stood on the precipice of an eternal nightmare. The figure chuckled, deep and rumbling, vibrating through their bones. "When you shed the veil of ignorance, you will dance with your ancestors. They await you." "No, I won't." She hoisted Emily into her arms, while grasping Max's forearm, pulling them toward the narrow staircase. "We have to escape." As they stumbled back, the whispers intensified, a cacophony of voices overlapping each other, drowning out Lucy's desperate pleas. The attic trembled, threatening to collapse. Snapshots of blurred memories flickered, her childhood laughter now eclipsed by its ghostly echo. And then, just as sudden as the darkness, a brilliant light erupted from the corner, a stark contrast, a window into something brighter beyond. "Follow the light," Lucy screamed, her voice shredding the air as she surged forward, dragging the children along. But just as they reached the threshold, the figure lunged, its icy fingers brushing against her neck. "You cannot escape your truth, Lucy." Her heart raced faster than her feet could carry her. With one final effort, she threw herself toward the light, praying that fear wouldn't hold her back. The moment they collided with the brightness, the attic erupted in chaos, a maelstrom of shadows and screams intertwining, dragging every sound into oblivion. Everything fell silent, a heavy shroud of stillness enveloping them. But in that pause, as they landed in an unfamiliar room surrounded by blinding light, a new terror crept into Lucy's mind. What had they left behind? Were they safe, or had they merely stepped into a different nightmare? As the figure's laughter echoed faintly in the recesses of her consciousness, Lucy turned to her children, fear threading through her heart. They seemed untouched, yet not quite themselves. "Max? Emily?" Her voice quivered, and in unison they replied, a haunting calmness resonating. "What friend are we going to meet next?" The room glimmered with an unnatural light, bathing Lucy and her children in an ethereal glow. It was large, almost sterile, like a stage set for a horror show, put together with gleaming white walls and a floor that reflected their panic-stricken faces. But there were no windows, only shadows that danced along the periphery, taunting her with the unknown. "Mommy, it's so bright," Emily whispered, her small voice carrying a strange mix of calm and fear. "Lucy," Max began, his eyes still shimmering. "This is where the friend lives." "No!" Lucy yelled, heart racing, grounding herself. "We need to leave! We can't trust it! There's nothing here, just chains of whispers and shadows!" But as Lucy stumbled back toward the door, she found it sealed tight, like the walls had conspired to trap them within this space. The air thickened, pressing against her lungs, and the chill crept in, wrapping around her like an icy shroud. "Let me see," Max urged, slipping free from her grasp, stepping with slow intent toward the open area. It was as if the bright light was luring him in, morphing him with each cautious stride. "Max, no!" The scream tore from her throat, desperation tightening her chest. Emily whimpered but remained rooted in place, eyes wide, terrified but entranced. Lucy's instincts screamed for her to grab them and run, yet her heart ached with the realization of their growing disconnect. A voice echoed from the depths of the light, smooth and beckoning. "Lucy, why do you resist? Your children wish to know their lineage, the truth of who they are." "Stop! You don't control them!" Lucy shouted, grounding herself, but her fists trembled at her sides. The figure's face floated in her memory, a ghostly smear cast across her mind, and somewhere within her, the instinct to protect had begun to ebb. "Mommy, what's wrong?" Max replied, tilting his head, the glow illuminating his features, now soft and empty. "Look at all the friends waiting for us." The shadows flickered and danced more vigorously, swirling with hints of memories long kept secret. Faces appeared, fleeting glimpses of lost ancestors, expressions twisted between joy and sorrow, a haunting gallery as if they were trapped beneath glass. "Join us, Lucy, join your family," the voice crooned, dripping with a sickening sweetness. "You are bound to them just as they are bound to you. Discover the joy in the past." "No, what joy? It's a trap." Panic surged, ripping through her. But as she struggled, Lucy felt something tug at the corners of her mind, a whisper weaving in, trying to persuade, to soothe as it wrapped around her heart. "But why fight? They've missed you. They've called for you. For so long." Tremors racked her body, adrenaline coursing through her veins as she stumbled back, struggling against the unseen force pulling at her thoughts. Emily's frail figure radiated bewilderment while Max's face morphed into something otherworldly. A ripple of doubt struck. Was it just a toy of the mind? Was she losing them? Loathing for the figure coexisted with an aching longing to understand what was being offered. "Mommy," Emily cried, drawing Lucy's attention back to her daughter. Her eyes glazed with an emotion that felt unreal. "Can we meet them? Can we be together?" Lucy's heart plummeted. Just beyond that door lurked their reality, outside thoughts of safety, away from the chill that wanted to consume them whole. "No, you don't know what you're asking. We have to fight," she shrieked, became the voice of reason against the seductive whispers. But as they locked eyes, a sudden realization shattered her. The light might not let them go. Could she rescue her children, or would she lose them to the family tether that screamed for connection, risking everything? From the very edges, the laughter of the looming figure swelled, mingling with the judgment of the faces locked in the shadows. Desperation rose, and a new whisper, low and cold, slithered through Lucy's thoughts. "What if you are the darkness they truly seek?" In that instant, the walls began to pulse again, and a gaping void opened behind the children, hungry and dark, beckoning them to cross. "Max! Emily! Come back!" Lucy lunged forward, knowing the fight hadn't ended, but instead had only begun. Lucy's heart raced as she surged toward her children, her cries clawing at the thickness of the air. She felt as if she were sprinting through molasses, each step dragging her deeper into a nightmare. The cracks in the walls expanded, shadows writhing, hungry and eager, whispering temptations that tried to pry her children from her grasp. "Come to us, Max. Come, Emily." The shadows enticed, their voices now a cacophony, echoing and merging into one haunting melody. Max paused, his eyes glassy, capturing the glow as if possessed by some desperate need. "Mommy, they just want to play." "No!" she screamed, reaching for him, her fingers brushing against his arm. As she touched him, a jolt ran through her, electrifying her senses. In an instant, she saw flashes of his future, draped in dark memories that didn't belong to him. Silhouettes loomed behind him, trapped and pleading. She recoiled, horrified. "Lucy, why fight this?" The voice of the entity purred as the light flickered in response to her turmoil. "You cannot protect them from the truth. No, they deserve better, not this." Panic transformed into fierce determination. She shoved her fear back down, allowing hatred for the unseen force to bubble up. The walls tightened around them, vibrating, almost alive. Lucy could hear their whispers now, old grievances, long suppressed pain. Time slowed as she fought against the oppressive gloom closing around her family. Emily tilted her head, mesmerized by flickering images. "Mommy, look at the faces, they just want to meet us." Her voice dripped with curiosity rather than fear, twisting Lucy's gut with anguish. She was losing them. "Those faces aren't safe," Lucy's voice cracked, desperation making it tremble. "They've been trapped for too long. We can't get involved in their pain. Please, Mommy." Yonder was the void, a swirling mass sucking in all light, promising connection but emanating despair. Through gritted teeth, Lucy turned and yelled into the void, "You cannot have us." The shimmering light flickered, the shadows hesitating. Lucy felt it, the shivering disorder of the shadows losing their grip for a moment. But then a force pushed against her, a mirror reflecting sorrow, twisting into outrage. The light responded in a violent dance, thrumming against her, blinding her vision. "Lucy!" It was Max, shaking, but the light had dulled his spirit. "It's all right. It's okay. We can be with them." The room shuddered as Lucy's resolve began to crack like ice underfoot. Deep in her mind, a voice whispered promises of everlasting love, of belonging, and the truth. A moment of false hope washed over her. If only she could see. "Max, Emily, we have to stay together." She stretched her arms wide, enveloping both of them, willing their connection to break through the spectral fog that lined her vision. The darkness reacted violently. It lashed out like a living thing, claws scraping at her mind. It screamed, a chorus of voices echoing familial heartbreak and betrayal. "You are one of us. You belong." With each word it filled her head, filling her chest with icy dread. Memories trickled forth like blood from a wound. Loss, despair, sorrow. They knew her. They knew her family. "No," she wailed, as the weight of her legacy clawed at her soul, threatening to drag her under. "I won't let you take them." As she fought against the encroaching shadows, a bright pulse of light erupted within her. For the first time, she felt the power of her own fury, the fierce desire to protect. The walls shimmered and bucked like a tempest, revealing new facets of the void. It flickered, and in that blinding flash she saw a glimpse of herself, an ancient shadow, a reflection of the very darkness she battled. "Release them," she demanded, focusing everything she had into the command, her voice sharp and unyielding. But the shadows recoiled, whispering in anguish. Their dance of despair turned chaotic, stumbling over one another as the walls pulsed more rhythmically. "Mommy!" Emily cried, eyes wide with terror. "What's happening?" Max's voice trembled as he looked back at the void, its edges writhing like serpents. "Fight with me. We will not be your prisoners," Lucy roared, and suddenly the very air around them electrified with her will. And just as the echoes of ancient pain howled louder, the room surged into silence, the shadows collapsing against the walls in a panicked frenzy. Lucy braced herself, heart hammering. Something had changed, but before she could grasp the shift, the shadows morphed again, twisting into a colossal face, every detail etched in her memory. Its eyes held centuries of sorrow, and from its mouth, a chilling warmth poured forth. "Welcome home, Lucy." The ground trembled beneath her, and a sense of dread unfurled all around. What price would the shadows extract for their invitation? With a sudden flash, the void began to resonate again, and in the dim glow, dark laughter echoed in voices that felt all too familiar. Was she losing herself in there? Lucy's breath hitched. Could she truly protect them, even if the truth of their lineage threatened to consume them whole. The laughter hung in the air like a fog, thick and disorienting. It rumbled deep in Lucy's chest, igniting primal fears that clawed at her limbs. She squeezed her eyes shut, feeling Max and Emily's tiny bodies tremble against her own as the shadows pulsed, vibrant and hungry. "Mommy, why are they laughing?" Max whispered, his voice shaking with confusion. "They're not happy, Max," Lucy responded, forcing the words through gritted teeth, her heart pounding. "They're taunting us." She could feel the shadows closing in, tendrils brushing against her skin, aching to cozy up against her soul. She struggled for clarity as panic threatened to swallow her whole. The dark faces morphed and twitched behind the colossal entity, their eyes wide and desperately hopeful. "Why do they look like you?" Emily asked, her voice barely above a whisper, forehead creased in innocent curiosity. No, they can't be," Lucy exclaimed, despair flooding her voice. Memories flickered through her mind, harrowing tales whispered by her grandmother, warnings about a bloodline steeped in darkness. Generations of secrets that now rushed toward her like a freight train. "Stay close, don't look at them." But her warning seemed like a feeble straw against the tide. The shadows twinkled alluringly, beckoning her children with whispers that penetrated her resolve. "Lucy, let them join us," the entity breathed, its voice smooth like honey, dark and thick. "Embrace the truth of who you are." The words sent shivers down her spine. Lucy felt the weight of inherited sorrow, a burdensome legacy she longed to reject. But the shadows were crafty, mirroring the glimmers of familiarity both enticing and repulsive. Suddenly, an icy grip wrapped around her wrist, pulling her back from her children. She wheeled around to find a shadow lunging forth, a figure resembling her late aunt. Her heart plunged into despair. This couldn't be real. She remembered the stories, the tragic end of her relatives who had succumbed to the darkness, swallowed by despair. "No!" Lucy screamed, wrenching her arm free. "You cannot take my children!" Max's hand trembled against hers, and a sharp pang of fear shot through Lucy. "Mommy, don't leave us!" he cried. Desperation ignited her a second time, and she thrust herself toward the shadows, fists clenched. "I will not be a part of your darkness." The air around her shimmered, and luminous threads began to weave through the shadows, illuminating them with stark clarity. For an instant the shadows faltered. Their laughter waned, replaced by whispers of confusion. She felt the change, her voice empowered by love and fury, carving through the grief surrounding them. "You can't have them. I will fight." The colossal face wavered, its form shifting nervously like smoke, eyes narrowing. "You cannot escape your fate, Lucy." The shadows recoiled, and for the briefest moment Lucy felt triumph. But then they surged back, visceral and relentless, wrapping tightly around her. The cold tendrils squeezed, suffocating her with whispered secrets that made her head spin, tales that clawed at her very essence. "Mommy." Emily's voice wavered, an edge of terror creeping in. "They aren't your family," Lucy shouted, a mix of defiance and dread. "They want to control us." "No," came a voice from deep within the shadows, a soft echo that seeped into Lucy's mind. "You cannot flee from what you are. You will join us." As if igniting a spark, the pulsing darkness cleared momentarily, revealing a swirling corridor leading outward. A refuge suddenly set against a horizon of terror. The shadows, recognizing their loss, shrieked in frustration, a sound that roared like thunder. "Run!" Lucy shouted, determination surging. She grasped her children tightly, pushing past the oncoming wave of despair. But as they rushed toward the corridor glowing with hope, a foreboding chill swept through, reverberating with warnings, memories, and truth. What awaited them at the end of this dark passage? Would they gain freedom or merely step deeper into a dark family legacy? "Look out!" Lucy shouted, feeling the shadows close in, baring teeth as they readied to strike. Would they be fast enough? In the desperate moments that followed, a powerful surge swept through the room. For just the most fleeting of seconds, Lucy felt a bright light filter through, its warmth kissing their skin like sunshine on an unclouded day. But would it last, Or would the shadows emerge stronger, feeding on their fears? Lucy's heart raced faster than ever as she fought for their freedom, shadows churning relentlessly behind them. What terrible truths awaited them on the other side? The corridor loomed closer, both salvation and damnation hanging in the delicate balance. The corridor beckoned, pulsating with an unnatural light like a siren's song. Lucy threw her weight against an unseen force, dragging Max and Emily behind her. The shadows writhed and twisted, their cries echoing, desperate and furious. It was as if the darkness itself hated their will to escape. "Faster!" she urged, adrenaline fueling her panic. They raced forward, struggling against a tide of despair that threatened to pull them back. Each stride felt heavier, as the shadows snaked around their ankles trying to drag them down. "Mommy, I can't." Max's voice cracked with fear. "Just hold on, don't let go." Lucy's voice sounded foreign even to her ears, strained and shrill. She could feel her heart thundering, each beat a countdown, an echoing reminder of time slipping away. Ahead, the exit flickered like a tiny flame in the vast void. Hope waned and flickered, mere smoke against chaos. The shadows clawed and scratched at her, pulling her back toward the darkness. Lucy cried out in sheer desperation, "I won't lose you!" as she felt their touch, cold, slick, as though the night itself was reaching for her. Emily stumbled beside her, her small figure almost lost to the dark behind them. "I'm scared, Mommy." "I know, sweetheart, I am too, but we have to keep going." Lucy invoked every ounce of strength, fighting against the suffocating darkness that clawed at her mind like a ravenous wolf. Just as they reached the threshold, a loud screech erupted from behind, a sound like nails dragging across metal. In that instant, the corridor started to narrow, the light flickering erratically, narrowing their escape. Lucy pushed the children forward, willing them on. "Get through," she urged, strength surging from the depths of her maternal instincts. Suddenly, a strong, chilling wind surged through the corridor, whipping around them like a hurricane. Shadows coalesced into a dense mass, solidifying into a face, the twisted visage of her aunt, eyes wide and hungry. "You cannot escape, Lucy. You belong to us." "No," Lucy screamed, blocking her aunt's figure from her mind. Each word felt like a stone at the bottom of her heart, weighing her down. "You cannot take my children." She charged forward, body tense with determination, the unseen force of the threshold igniting within her. But just as they crossed into the bright light, an icy hand caught Lucy's heel. The darkness wrapped around her like a vice, squeezing painfully. "Join us!" the entity howled in a cacophony of anguished voices. With a final surge, Lucy threw herself through the shimmering exit, dragging Max and Emily along. They tumbled into the light, gasping, collapsing onto solid ground. But behind them, the shadows writhed and surged, pulsating with rage and hunger. The laughter came again, echoing, filled with spiteful joy. Lucy scrambled to her feet, disoriented but incredibly alive. "Get up! We have to move!" The bright expanse around them looked almost peaceful, yet a dark undertone thrummed through the air. Were they truly free, or had they just stepped into another layer of deceit? Trembling, she looked around. They were in an empty room, the walls lined with dark, gnarled wood. Faded family portraits hung limply, their faces blank yet eerily familiar. Lucy's pulse quickened. "Where are we?" Max clung tightly to her side. "Is this the same place? It looks like home." A hollow laugh echoed from one of the portraits, a voice deep and sadistic entwined with mockery. "Welcome back, Lucy. We've been waiting." Fear surged again, churning in her stomach. An overwhelming sense of dread washed over her. This wasn't over, not by a long shot. What have we walked into? As shadows began to crawl from the edges, she realized their fight was far from over. What awaited them in this twisted reflection of her past? Would they find salvation? Or would the darkness once again envelop them, leaving them trapped forever? Lucy held her breath, and the flickering figures shifted, staring hungrily, waiting for her answer. The truth felt so close, yet so dangerously far. Could she face her family's legacy? Or was her final escape only beginning? The atmosphere thickened, oppressive and alive, as if the very air conspired against them. Lucy looked at the portraits, each one shadowy and warped, the eyes of her ancestors drilling into her with accusatory intensity. They had seen things, terrible things. Had they shared their fates with the darkness that taunted her now? "Mommy, I don't like this place," Max whimpered, tugging at her hand, his tiny face twisted with fear. "Neither do I, Max," she admitted, her voice trembling. The laughter echoed again, a chilling caress that sliced through her resolve. "But we have to stay strong." Emily's grip tightened on the hem of Lucy's shirt, and the shadows surged, advancing with silent whispers that filled her ears with dread. "Lucy," they beckoned softly, "join us. We're a part of you." "No," Lucy shouted, an instinctive roar propelled by desperation. She had fought too hard to abandon her children now. The darkness hissed, 1,000 voices rising in displeasure, and a gust of wind rushed past, throwing them back against the wall. "Mommy!" Emily shrieked. In an instant, Lucy was enveloped by the shadows, the cold creeping into her bones. She fought against them, clawing her way back, heart racing, mind spiraling. "We need to find a way out." She wrenched herself free and stumbled toward a door etched with grotesque symbols that pulsed like a heartbeat. The door creaked as she pushed it, but it swung open with unsettling ease, revealing more darkness beyond. Lucy hesitated, her gut churning. What waited for them in the blackness? But somewhere buried beneath the fear, a flicker of determination ignited. If she didn't step through, they would be lost. So she took a deep breath and crossed the threshold into the unknown. Inside was an endless expanse, a black void that felt alive. The walls vibrated with whispers that clawed at her sanity, clawing deep into her memories. Flickers of her childhood resurfaced, like shards of glass embedded in her mind. Days spent in this cursed house, laughter that hid secrets, smiles that concealed pain. Then, just ahead, a dim light flickered. A solitary candle sat in a room reminiscent of a long-forgotten den, and as they approached, Lucy recognized the features of the furniture, the old armchair, the peeling wallpaper of her youth. But this was wrong. The air hummed with malevolence. "Stay close," she whispered, eyes darting around. The candle's flame flickered violently, casting exaggerated shadows. The portraits, now visible again, showed her family at the dinner table, the same table that strained under the weight of troubling interactions and hidden resentments. The laughter that echoed felt less joyous now, more sinister. "Lucy," a voice cooed from the shadows, familiar yet twisted, her mother's voice. "You always come back, don't you? You can't escape who you are." Every instinct screamed to flee, but curiosity gnawed at her. Had her mother been caught in this snare? Was this darkness their legacy? Lucy squared her shoulders, tightly gripping Emily's hand. "No, I'm not like you." The shadows screeched, a united cry of rage. The candle flickered and extinguished, plunging them into darkness. "Run!" Lucy urged, but her words were swallowed by chaotic whispers and shadowy forms. They rushed through the den, desperate to find another way out, hearts pounding. Then, they found it. An exit at the far end of the room. As Lucy dashed toward it, she could feel tendrils of shadow snaking around her, grasping at her legs, urgency swelling within her, as the whispers screeched louder, demanding her to stay. "Stay. Join us. You're part of this." "No!" Lucy crashed through the door into another chamber, gasping for breath, light flooding her eyes, but it was blinding. She fell to her knees, disoriented. Sunlight? No, it was still obscured by darkness swirling around her. But this time it felt alive, as if there were something, or someone, lurking just beyond her vision, just out of reach. "Where are we?" Max asked, voice shaking. Lucy's heart sank. Hope and dread twisted within her. "We must keep moving, we're not safe yet." Hand in hand, they stepped forward again. But the lingering shadows offered a chilling reminder. This battle against her family's legacy was far from over. And then she felt it, the presence closing in, an ominous whisper brushing against her ear, promising, "It's only the beginning, Lucy. You will face what you fear most. Soon." With eyes wide, Lucy froze, terror rooted deep inside her. What horror awaited them now? The air was thick and oppressive, pressing against Lucy's chest as the chilling whispers swirled around her, each syllable wrapping itself around her throat like a noose. Max and Emily clung to her sides, their fragile bodies shaking against the onslaught of fear. It was an unnatural silence that followed the cacophony of hissing voices, an eerie calm that suggested something was about to happen. "Mommy, where are we?" Max whispered, the quiver in his voice tearing through her resolve. "I don't know," she replied, panic bubbling just beneath the surface. "But we have to keep going." With hesitant steps, they moved deeper into the chamber. Shadows writhed at the edges of her vision, darting away whenever she turned to look. The sense of something watching them crept under her skin, forcing her heart to race. Each step echoed, hollow and mocking, as if the house was alive, feeding on their fear. Suddenly, a low growl rumbled through the darkness, sending ice through Lucy's veins. It sounded primal, animalistic, and very close. She spun, her breath hitching. "Did you hear that?" Emily nodded, her little face pale. A flickering glimmer caught Lucy's eye, a fleeting image in the depths of the shadows. "Over there!" she gasped, pointing toward a faint light that seemed to pulse with life. As they approached, Lucy felt a twinge of hope, but with every step the whispers intensified, echoing in her mind, blending into a dissonance that left her dizzy. "You're not meant to leave," a voice crooned, smooth and cold. "You belong here, with us." "No," Lucy cried, her voice cracking under the weight of her fear. "We don't belong to you." The aura of the room shifted, the shadows coiling tighter around them. As if in response to her defiance, a wall of darkness surged forward, closing the distance quickly. Lucy snatched her children's hands and dashed toward the light, desperation fueling her strides. They burst into the glow, stumbling into a cramped space filled with flickering candles and strange symbols etched into the walls. Insanity lurked in the air, pulsing like a heartbeat. They were in a small chapel, an unsettling remnant of past rituals. "Stay close," she hissed, peering into the corners where the shadows seemed to cling with malicious intent. In the center of the room stood an altar, ancient and cracked, adorned with faded photographs of her family. Each face wore a sinister smile, eyes glinting with secrets long buried. Lucy felt her heart plunge. They were here. They knew. "This is where they made their choices," a voice whispered, her mother's voice again, sweet and taunting. "Just like you will." Lucy shook her head, breathing heavily. The air thickened, stifling. "We aren't making any choices." But even as she spoke, something deep within her tangled with the shadows, pulling her closer to the altar. The truth clawed at her, desperate to escape. Was it merely instinct, or could she feel the lingering weight of her family's shattered legacy? "Mommy," Max squeaked, pointing toward a darkened mirror hanging above the altar. Something shifted within. A writhing mass of whispers danced inside, reflecting not only her face but something darker, something vile lurking beneath the surface. "No, do not look at it," Lucy shouted. But the command was swallowed by the howling shadows drawn into the mirror's depths. Max and Emily were rooted, entranced by the dark promise held within. In that moment, Lucy felt it. Their fates entwined, a powerful pull urging her to join them, to unravel in the chaos. She fought against it, heart pounding wildly. "Let them go, they aren't yours." But the shadows only laughed, an echoing sound that reverberated through the chapel, chilling and cruel. The mirror became a window, a passage revealing twisted truths. Lucy stumbled back, her heart racing, knowing she had to do something drastic. "Run!" she shrieked, yanking on the hands of her children. They broke free from the mirror's trance, snapping back to reality. But the door began to close, the pull of darkness shallowing around them, threatening to engulf them once again. With one last desperate look at the mirror, Lucy turned, racing toward the only exit. "We're almost there." But the shadows surged. They wouldn't let go without a fight. And as they burst through the narrow door, propelled back into the unforgiving darkness, the whispers faded into an eerie silence, leaving behind the unsettling promise that the true horror was yet to come. Lucy felt the cool, damp air of the hallway brush against her as she stumbled out of the chapel, nearly collapsing against the wall. She held Max and Emily close, their little hearts racing in sync with her own frantic pulse. The darkness beyond the door whispered, a siren's call beckoning them back. But this had to be the moment. They couldn't linger in the shadows any longer. "Keep running," Lucy urged, squinting into the dimness ahead. She felt the familiar heaviness of dread, but anger fueled her emergence into the unknown space. It was time to reclaim her family's narrative, to unearth the truth that bound them under layers of anguish. "Mommy, I'm scared," Emily whimpered, glancing over her shoulder. "I know, sweetheart, but we're breaking free." Lucy squeezed her hands tighter. They shot forward, breathing hard. The air was electric with anticipation. Each corner they turned, decreasing the weight of the shadows behind them. But they were relentless. Echoing laughter filling the air, reminding them of the darkness lurking in their bloodline. "Why are they still following us?" Max asked, confusion clouding his innocent eyes. "Because they want us to join them," Lucy replied, forcing the words out. "But we're stronger." Somewhere in the distance, a faint light began to pulse rhythmically, illuminating the path ahead. It beckoned them, sweet and soft as a lullaby, the promise of safety. "Mommy, the light!" Emily pointed, her face illuminated with a mixture of hope and trepidation. "Yes, to the light." Lucy propelled them forward, every ounce of her being focused on that gleam of hope. Darkness screamed behind them, furious at their escape, lashes of shadows snapping through the narrowing hallway. As they neared the light, it burst open into a wide space, a garden radiant against the backdrop of the ominous house. But it was unlike any garden Lucy had seen. The flowers thrived in a palette of colors mingled with darkness, casting an otherworldly glow. "Look!" Max exclaimed, his fear melting away in the awe of vibrant petals. "Mommy, it's beautiful," Emily echoed, her small fingers reaching toward the echo of vivid colors. "It is beautiful," Lucy agreed, feeling the warmth of the garden washing over her. But she also felt the shadows lurking just beyond the floral bliss. "But we need to keep moving. We're not safe yet." In that moment of beauty, however, the shadows transcended, swirling into the edges of the garden, coiling together, forming the shapes of her ancestors, their faces twisted in longing and despair. "Do you not crave belonging?" They beckoned, whispers fluttering through the garden like a chilling breeze. "You are one of the lost." "No!" Lucy shouted, defiance rising up, aligning with the love for her children. "You can't have them." A fierce determination flickered in her chest. "We are breaking this cycle." "Why resist?" They echoed, serenity draping across their voices, arms outstretched toward the blooming flowers. "Join us in the peace of memory." "No, this is our story," Lucy yelled, shielding her children behind her. "Not yours." The shadows lunged forward, but the garden responded, petals shimmering a glimmering lavender, radiating warmth as they began to encircle Lucy and her children. The colors surged toward the darkness, attacking, a beautiful wave of brightness crashing into the spectral forms of her family. "What's happening?" Max gasped, clutching at Lucy's skirt, eyes wide with confusion. "The garden. It's fighting for us," Lucy shouted, feeling the power of the flora encase them in protection. The shadows hissed, screeches rippling through their ranks as the vibrant energy pushed back against the painful reality they sought to weave into their fate. "Mommy, we have to tell them we want to be free," Emily insisted, voice shaking but resolute with courage. "Yes, we have to claim our freedom," Lucy supported. The echoes of despair began to recede, the hold of their ancestors lessening as the garden swelled with verdancy, strong and vibrant. "We are not joining you," Lucy proclaimed, her voice steady, pushing fear aside. "You may have haunted us for too long, but we are breaking this cycle. We are rewriting our destiny." With that declaration, the vibrant flowers responded, a burst of energy shooting upward, casting out the shadows like bright sunlight dispersing mist. The specters of her family shrieked in fury, flailing against the assault. As the light enveloped them all, Lucy and her children began to rise, pulled toward the embrace of the garden's strength. The shadows, disintegrating into wisps of smoke, shrieked with resentment, fading away, losing the fight they had waged for generations. "Mommy!" Emily gasped, her face radiant in the blossoming light. "Yes, we're almost there!" Laughter bubbled from Lucy's lips, joy blooming within her, as the oppressive darkness began to dissipate entirely, not just from around them but within her, too. "We can breathe," Max whispered, eyes glistening with tears of relief. "Together," they chanted, feeling threads of their bond growing stronger, and as they sailed higher toward the sky, bathed in warmth, Lucy felt the weight of the past slip away, freeing her family from the chains of sorrow. This was their moment, a starting point for a fresh beginning beyond the shadows, unmarked by fear. They soared into the light where memory transformed, a garden of hope where their family could finally bloom free from ancestral darkness. As they touched down gently outside the house, Lucy breathed in the fresh air, sunlight bathing them in warmth. They turned to each other, hearts soaring. "Let's go home," she murmured, knowing that whatever lay ahead would be theirs to forge without the ghosts haunting them. Max and Emily nodded, their eyes bright and alive. Together they took their first steps forward, hand in hand, carving their path into a new legacy. In that moment, the story of the Anderson Heights family was written anew, freed from the shadows. Now, it's time for you to take action. You need to subscribe now to this channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories that will captivate your heart. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm and bring more thrilling tales to life. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about this ending. What do you think happens next for Lucy and her kids? And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Your support matters more than you know.